Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Jacob Bluestein here, building Transplant Coach in public to a $100 million SaaS platform. In these videos, we go over weekly Q&A we get from real customers, real patients. We share the data with you live, how many paid ad consults we had come in, how many organic, and what we're building, what we've done since the last video, and where we're going. Let's dive in. All right, guys. So starting right from the top, we've got our homepage here. Some Q&A that came in over the last week, which we pull from our TikTok channel, right? A lot of people who comment, a lot of people who reply. And we get a lot of the same questions. A very common question we get, we've gotten a lot of lately, especially this past week, is, are you guys affiliated with the hospitals themselves? Do you have any kind of contracts with the hospitals themselves? And the answer is no. No, we do not, at least not at this time. And that's by design. We have all of the forecast data for hospitals by blood type, right? But we're not affiliated with them. We're not beholden to them. We're not biased by the hospitals because we don't get paid by the hospitals. We get paid by the patients. And maybe even if we were to change the way we do this, where we got paid by working with nephrology clinics, for example, there's a lot of work to be done there on value-based care, we still would not be paid by hospitals. There are very strict rules and regulations around that. And more importantly, it allows us to build with the patient in mind, because that's our customer. And you build for the customer and what they want, what the market demand is. And the incentives of patients wanting to get their kidneys faster might be different than large enterprise businesses like hospital chains. So we are not affiliated with any of the hospitals, and we've built the platform in a way where our ability to communicate with the hospitals is very limited in terms of their control. So we've never had this issue. The hospitals love us, mostly because we inadvertently, right, end up sending patients their way. But how we communicate with them is not reliant on an API or anything like that. So we are patient-built and patient-centric. And although at some point we'd like to have a B2B arm where we work with nephrology clinics under value-based care, maybe even dialysis clinics, we are still patient-centric. Another frequently asked question we get, this actually came up this past week, and it's a tough one, is what if I'm highly sensitized? What if I have a very high antibody count, which makes transplant really difficult? And I always appreciate when potential users say that up front, because our forecasted data is taken right from the hospitals, and it's split up by blood type, but it takes the average of the bell curve. And highly sensitized patients will have a much more difficult time obtaining a transplant because it's so much easier for their body to reject. So there is a caveat there. And if someone wants to work with us, which still happens, we caveat that, because a 3-year or 1-year wait for an O, B, or A blood type might be outside of our margin of error of difference if someone's highly sensitized. So it doesn't disqualify them from using the platform. Highly sensitized people do still receive kidney transplants. It's just more difficult and more complicated. So those are some of the commonly asked questions we've gotten. Hopping over to the sort of business side of things, we use beacons to kind of track our social media presence, and we're just about to break 1,000 followers, which you look at the mega giants, seems like nothing, but it's better than 0. So we're making progress. We're up to 514 posts, all videos, and it's about 21 videos per week posted across these 3 platforms. Something that is new we've built that I'm excited to share with you guys, so far the engagement has been really good, is we're doing a new series for our short-form content, which is called Reporting and Trends. So we take a combination of different types of stories that happen in real time in the news. We take stories that are positive stories, like we had one this past week where a prom date from 30 years ago ended up donating a kidney to her prom date. They didn't end up getting married. They didn't barely even stayed in contact. But 30 years later, they were in the same social circles, at least on social media, and she decided to donate, which is wonderful. So we have stories like that. We also have investigative stories, which are exposing different aspects of the system, not from an emotional standpoint, but more from a data standpoint. And there's been huge changes in the kidney industry since really 2022, when the Senate hearing took place with UNOS. And essentially a 40-year-long monopoly was broken up into smaller chunks, and that's an ongoing 5 to 10 year plus effort. So there's going to be tons of changes to happen, and we want to report on them live, because I noticed a lot of the news that like I'm consuming is more geared towards medical professionals, medical businesses, and it's not in patient speak. And so we wanted to bridge the gap in communicating useful information about how the industry is changing in ways that make sense to patients. Like, it's one thing to talk about value-based care, which is another part of the segment. We've done some stories on that. The big shift that's happening is providers are being more incentivized by outcome instead of by volume of service. And if providers are able to beat that predefined standard of care, then they're able to participate in the cost savings. So it's kind of a win-win. Patients get better treatment, providers are incentivized to give better treatment, and if they do so, the government, Medicare, essentially rewards them. So we see this a lot with dialysis, because many people who are on dialysis could be transplanted, but instead they're kind of just stuck. So as more nephrologists become geared towards value-based care or participate in it, our hope is that transplantation will be more common. And if transplantation is more of a common standard of practice, well, Transplant Coach fits pretty well in there. So this new reporting segment is meant to share news in real time, including links to the sources, as well as really interesting and engaging stories that are true, that are happening in real time. Just from like a community standpoint, like the prom date one stuck out to me. So that's our social following, and now going over the paid ads. And I promised you guys on the last video, I would produce a funnel that I could actually show you that was like, hey, we had this many consults booked and here's where they came from. And now we have it. So on the paid side, there's a big lesson here I want to communicate, because it doesn't matter how long you're in this game, you tend to learn the same lessons. If every once in a while they'll come back to bite you, and I had to relearn that lesson. So our paid ad side of things, you see here, there's 5 campaigns going. We had paid Google ads a year ago, a little over a year ago, and they worked extremely well. It was about $20 in ad spend for 1 consult booked, and for every 10 consults booked, 1 person bought, which is pretty good for cold traffic. Now, it's different for warm intros, but this is just for pure cold traffic. And a month ago, when I wanted to restart them, I was like, oh, okay, we'll just turn on the old ads, and then I'll make a benchmark campaign. I want to learn how to do it myself, right? Instead of working with a great guy, but a vendor. And so I tried doing that, and I went through all this work. 30 days passed, and this was my campaign here, lead gen, Jacob. And we didn't get conversion tracking up immediately, so it was about maybe 8 or so conversions. Decent click-through rate. But at the end of the day, I had spent like 2.5 times the budget we used a year ago to get less results. And so I was like, okay, wait a minute. I'm glad I took this 30 days to understand Google better, to like take the courses and understand more about how the algorithm works. But this isn't my highest and best use. So we re-engaged the gentleman we worked with a year ago, and he immediately got after it, turned back on the old campaign, and ran with it. And so we'll be okay. I think it'll take us about 30, maybe 45 days before we get back to our $20 to $25 CPA, because Google has to relearn. That's what it means when it says bid strategy learning. So right now we're averaging around $80 to $90 per appointment, which is not terrible, but it's definitely not as good as it should be, right? And then our cost per click is around $1, which for any of you guys watching who have used Google Ads in regular businesses like roofing, plumbing, whatever, this is really, really low compared to what most people will pay for a click. Some people will pay $30 to $50 for 1 click. So we're pretty niche. We didn't need to get as complicated as I thought we did. So the KISS principle reigns supreme, which we learn over and over and over again in business and in life, and that's keep it simple, stupid. But we're here. So this will be back up and running in the next 30 to 60 days. We'll push this as hard as we can go, as well as the other channels. And I'll explain to you why in just a moment. I made this cool little table for you guys because our big call to action as a company is look at our stuff, or if you're told about our stuff, book a call with us. I'm old school that way. We could have designed the software where it was just self-service, total self-service, no humans involved. But I find you can ensure a better customer experience and a higher conversion rate if there's a human touch. So it's me doing the calls now as well as my partner. In the next 30 to 60 days, we want to make our first hire, which will be for a patient navigator, to go in and do these calls for us and fulfill them. It's a 20-minute call up front, and then 60 to 90 minutes as a separate call to fulfill. do their medical packet, figure out which centers they should go to, and then send them off. We also started doing 30-day check-ins, which I don't know why it didn't occur to me to do this 2 years ago, but this is huge. I'm really excited for that. So everyone who gets submitted, they automatically get a 30-day check-in, and we'll keep it recurring, these 30-day check-ins, until transplant. From a business standpoint, it allows us to understand what happens once we let go of them, because it's kind of a black box for us. So we can understand the patient journey start to finish. We can build and improve our products to better match that journey, and it gives us a chance to check in, and if there's a potential upsell or cross-sell that makes sense for that patient, we have an opportunity to do that too. So it's a win-win for everybody. And it also gives the patients a chance to ask us, like, hey, is this normal? This is what I've been seeing. Should we reassess and do a separate hospital? Which there's no charge for doing that. We're happy to do it. So 4 sources for us. Family and friends, which I kind of thought was weird when we first built this, because it's like, kidney disease is common, but kidney failure is not so common that usually people in the same family might have it. But, it does happen, apparently. So family and friends, we can't control this. This isn't really a sustainable lead gen source for us, but it is a good one because it's very high trust. The next is Google, I just showed you, paid traffic. The next one, which is our most scalable and best bet in the long term, is healthcare providers. Oh, my doctor told me to look you up. My nurse, my dialysis social worker told me to look you guys up. And the last is social media, which are all the TikTok videos basically that you see. Now, if we were to rank these in order of most valuable, it's very easy to see. There's a pivot table, so I can't move these. I wish I could, but these 3, family and friends, healthcare provider, and social media, these would be considered more warm channels. And they're more warm prospects because there's some degree of trust, unlike a continuum. Trust isn't binary. It's a continuum that's built over time. Social media, they've seen my face. They've maybe gotten some value or some education on multi-listing or what's going on in the kidney world. Their healthcare provider would be number 1, right? You trust your medical provider for medical advice over anyone else. And then family and friends. So there's some pre-built-in degree of trust. And that's why you see out of the 19 consults booked, we had 14 shows, which is a show rate of 81%. That's amazing. A show rate of 81% and a close rate of 35%. In the medical world, like for niche business, I don't mean, going to see your primary, but cosmetics, anything medical adjacent, the show rate is like 50% and the close rate might be like 10, 15, 20 if you're a killer. Our show rate was 80% and our close rate was 35%, which is fantastic. And ironically, mostly because of my fault, the channel that we spent the most amount of money on in the last 5 weeks, about $2,500, we had the most consults booked, but at a 52% show rate at a 0% close rate. Now here's where it's important to not be emotional and be pragmatic. If we look at our historic close rate of Google Ads, it's 1 in 10. Well, we had 23 consults booked. Now these last 2 or 3 actually haven't happened yet. It's just the table pulls them anyway. They're happening later this week. So we had 9 consults showed, and so our close rate might be 0 because 1 in 10 on average closes. So it doesn't mean the channel's broken. It doesn't mean it doesn't work. It means we didn't hit that threshold yet. By the end of these 12 consults, I would expect, we actually had one this morning who came in from Google who did agree to the product. Now, he's not getting his appointment for a couple days, and I don't want to artificially inflate our numbers. So I'm hoping that by Friday, this will go to closed 1 and then 3,000, which will put us at 5 closes and 15,000 in about 5 weeks. But the point is, it's not broken. It just means, like in any other aspect of business, that there's a skill deficiency. Google ads work. Doing an outbound affiliate program to healthcare providers work. Meta ads work. Everything works. It's that you don't know how to do it enough yet. It's not binary. I know some of Google, and so there's a skill deficiency we have to address, which means 2 things. 1, I got the guy back on board who crushed it for us last year. That'll help in making sure the right people book consults. And 2 is increasing the show rate. And that's what we've been building, which is perfect for this segment, but that's what we've been building last week, is cold traffic operates differently than other channels, other warm traffic. So on our homepage, we need to have a more crystal clear call to action. You need to be able to instantly know without having to scroll what this product is and why you should give a crap about it. That's easier with more clear heading and subheader. And I've just recorded a 3-minute long video sales letter. Now, you guys heard in my other video about what the VSL is. We have this really long one after you book a call, but now we have one that's going to go right here. This is just going to move down, and that is going to be why you should book. It's a video of me in portrait mode. Like, hey guys, let me ask you a question. We talk about the most common 3 pain points. Here's what multi-listing is. You should think about it. Transplant coach does that. Here's how we do it. Book a call. Boom. The booking rate, the conversion rate is going to increase. And on the show rate, we did 2 big things. And we'll see how this plays out in the long term. So far, it's been good. The first is we forced everybody who books a call to be a video call, not a phone call. Because especially in a medical business or adjacent business, trust is huge. And if it won't be me in the long term, but if me or someone on the team is able to have a video call with you, with a prospective patient or customer, instead of a phone call, the trust automatically goes through the roof. So that was number 1, which took a lot of work and getting like the links to work. We text them the link the same day, saying, hey, just click, join here by video. And the second is reminders. So we have a better reminder funnel via email and text for people. So this will change. I know without a shadow of the doubt, 30 to 60 days from now, this is going to be like 50, 70 consults booked in a month, 60 to 70% show rate, and maybe even 10 to 15% close rate. Maybe we can push that extra 5% because of the videos. So this will perform well. And then as well on our radar is we want to start outreaching to nephrologists who do value-based care to start just to funnel patients. We'll structure a certain way, either as an affiliate for them, for each patient who uses the software, they get some money, or a donation to the charity of their choice. It's a win-win. And then in the long term, we'd love to take those sort of affiliate partnerships and turn them into actual B2B software that's custom built for them as a provider. But I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. So if any of the maybe 19 people now who watch these videos know any nephrologists who work in value-based care or who want what's best for their patients who need a transplant, send them our way. All right, guys, that's this segment. As a recap, we go over FAQs in these. We talk about how we performed with our organic stuff, with our paid stuff. We talk about how many people actually bought the thing. We talk about the mistakes and all the times that I've eaten dirt, and we keep moving. We keep moving up this mountain. It's a big one, but I wouldn't have it any other way. Thank you as always for tuning in. I'll talk to you soon.